Welcome to the Trash Talk and Tall Tales podcast, now available on Spotify. My name is James.
And my name is Marlon.
And we're going to take a detour from what we usually do today. We're going to talk to you about a documentary that we saw and watched over these last couple of days that was very interesting, to say the least. Marlon, can you go ahead and set us up for this?
The name of the documentary is Sherri Papini, Caught in a Lie. Very interesting. Lies, deceit, all of that. It's basically about a woman who goes on a jog and is taken hostage. I remember actually when this happened, I saw it on the news, but the story fell through pretty quickly. She says, do you want me to tell it, or do you want to tell it?
Yeah, I'll let you. You're doing a great job.
She says that she was abducted on a jog. She was captured, and 22 days later, she came back with a chain wrapped around her and miraculously escaped. But shortly thereafter, the story fell apart. I mean, it wasn't believable from the start. But
no, it wasn't. But at the same time, if y'all watch this, y'all know exactly what we're talking about. There's twists and turns at every single corner. One of these things that I've noticed whenever she was first communicating about how it all happened is, how did the abductor know exactly where she was going to be at the end of that jog? Like, she was jogging towards the end of, I guess, a driveway or a road, and he was there right at the time that she got at the end of the road.
Well,
so did you? Yeah.
Well, I think that you're kind of jumping ahead for the simple fact that that's when the story changed for the second time. The first time, remember, she said that she was abducted by two Hispanic females.
Yeah, but I thought from the get-go, how did you get abducted like that? Like, how did somebody?
No, I mean, people. No, I agree with that part, because abductors show up all the time. You know, there's no rhyme or reason when a person can get taken. So I just feel like it's. Anyways, if you haven't seen it, HBO Max, great show. Well, let me ask you: Did you believe any of that? Did you? I mean,
no. Like, I'm telling you, from like the jump. And I know people can be taken at any time or whatnot, but the way she described how long this road was for her to take this job, to me, it seemed like it's kind of far-fetched that somebody would just be waiting there at the exact time that she gets done jogging down this road. If you watch the documentary, of course, we don't know how long this road was or this driveway was or whatnot, but it had to be pretty long for you to be able to jog without going back and forth if you have a short driveway or whatnot. But that's when that story went to shambles for me. Like, it was just like, how in the world are they going to know exactly what time you're going to be at the end of the road? Now, I get if she said she came up and there was a car waiting for her, but it was just like, the way she described it was more like, as she got towards the end of the road, a car pulled up. So that's when I was a little suspicious.
Yeah, and she couldn't remember how she got in the car, whether she got in the car voluntarily. But anyways, I think basically the story broke apart because of the DNA. I think everything
DNA
was
was one.
Yeah, I think everything. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, the FBI agent from the jump was skeptical. Just by the way she was acting after her first interview. Do you remember seeing that? How she was flirty and, I mean, just enjoying the attention. And that part was kind of disturbing. I mean, if she had just been taken and a hostage for 22 days, it seems like she'd be a little bit more taken back, if you will.
Yeah, reserved, if you will. Even
most definitely.
One of the things that the FBI agent was talking about specifically was the way that the phone was dropped or placed or whatnot. I had suspicions there too, because the way it was described was like the hair was wrapped around the phone and the headphones were wrapped around the phone, like you're putting it down, like you're at the kitchen counter, you know.
Yeah, and
So
those are two
yeah,
things that broke apart because she also said that one, the phone dropped, and two, she said that I knew that her husband's name was Keith. I knew Keith would find it. So that
yeah, yeah. It's like I'm not sure that's how the world works, but at the same time, you kind of want to make sure you're giving the benefit of the doubt to somebody who's been a victim for something
and
like that.
I was giving her the benefit of the
Yeah,
doubt.
I think you probably gave it to her a little bit longer than I did, but and maybe that's just because I'm not a really trusting person when it comes to what people say. I'm more about what they do.
Now
And
I'll admit I'm a little bit naive. I mean I like to believe victims. I like to believe that people, glass half full, like I've always said. You know.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, and I get that. It's just that whenever she was describing what happened, and then she couldn't describe certain things, which I know your memory is going to be kind
Of
of
course.
shoddy whenever it comes to those types of things. I get that, but like I said, it was like I said, if you're getting taken, the phone is not placed down, in that particular position. It would be, strewn everywhere. The cord would be a mess, or there might be hair here or hair there.
But even in that, not to cut you off, but even in that, don't you think that you would want to keep your phone with you? Just in
Yeah,
case.
unless
Why?
the person like told you to drop the phone. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know.
See, as far as because she said that one of the lies was she said I knew that Keith would find it. Keith, her husband, I knew he would find
Right.
it. Why wouldn't you if you have an opportunity to have your phone on you? Why would you place it somewhere like this is
Yeah, that's a little
leaving
suspect.
breadcrumbs? How can you expect to get rescued if you're just throwing stuff out in the woods? That makes no
Yeah,
sense.
and thank you. Yeah, I placed it down for him to find, and he would know or whatnot. Then there's a lot of things I actually have written down here that I'd like to kind of get into. One of the things was, and this is a little bit off the subject, but it's in the subject as well, is whenever the FBI agent was actually talking about how they got the DNA and they got to her ex-boyfriend, I believe it was. His name was James also.
Hmm.
Um, it said they took the DNA, put it in a system. They were able to build out a family tree and use social media, public records, and other databases to figure out any of the members of this family tree could be linked to the case. A hit came, and it came back to somebody who had a relationship with Sherri. That sounds like conspiracy theorist 101 to me.
What do you
You
mean?
put the Think about it. You put the DNA. This is random DNA that they did not find a match to in their criminal database, correct?
Hmm.
So they said they put it in a system.
And they use social media. I thought that was kind of weird.
Well, I kind of get the social media, but how are you building out a family tree just off some random DNA? And I understand people now have, and that's where you got to be careful about that
23 and
ancestry
Me.
and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that now, but that was really telling to me, like, I wonder how deep
It's
does
too
that
far
go.
gone. It's too far gone.
I wonder how
It's too
deep
far.
does it go, Barnum?
It's entirely too late. It's entirely too late. Yeah.
I'm believing so. So that goes back to what we talked about earlier about these conspiracy theories. But that was interesting to me. Like, you was able, off of a random person's DNA, male DNA that was unknown, to trace it all the way back. You didn't even have his DNA, but you was able to trace it all the way back to his family tree and then see who was associated with her. That's crazy to me.
Now that you say that, they did not. They didn't say that they got his DNA. Well, they said they got his DNA, but then they didn't say that we did a DNA test on him.
Right. Yes. See?
That's. I mean, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I mean, but they got him. They got him. They
I
found
know.
him.
I know. Which, like I said, now I'm gonna tell you like this. I am the type of person that I just don't believe whatever somebody comes back on a lab and says this is your DNA and this is not, because I think
Yeah, I'm not a
anybody
huge
could,
fan of that.
yeah, anybody can be
Shady.
put to what, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. But yeah, I thought that was a very informational tool that we could use a little bit later. It was crazy.
Yeah, but I
It was
mean, it
crazy.
worked. I mean, I give them kudos because it worked. You know.
It did.
Let me ask you a question. I'm not sure if anybody has seen that. Do you think that she instructed him to brand her?
Well, see, that's two different things right there, because there was a lie detector test that was performed on both of them, and both of them had the same question. One passed, meaning they were no, both of them passed actually.
Yeah.
She said that he did it, and she didn't instruct him to. She passed the lie detector test, and then he was asked the same question, and he said that she told him to, and he passed. And that's why those lie detector tests are not admissible in court, and I get that. But I don't know, Marlon. Like, here's the thing about these types of people. If you start lying,
Oh, it's done.
it's done. Like, you have no credibility in
Yeah.
this whatsoever. Like, you've already made up this whole story about being abducted. Well, I don't know if you was abducted or not, or however she described it. But everything else you say after that can't be trusted. So I'm
No,
gonna
I
tell you
agree.
like this: to actually fuel the story that she was trying to portray, I think she actually wanted him to do that, and I hate that.
Well, I think that there's and that everything she was saying, there was truth and there was a lie.
But
I
that's
mean,
how liars operate.
yeah, she
They
mixed
sprinkle the truth
yes,
with a lie.
because, in my opinion, in my humble yet honest opinion, I believe that James was he was into some dirty stuff. I believe he was
I'm sure.
into some dirty stuff. But if I want to back it up, I had a problem with how. Well, of course, she's a liar, and she's a convicted liar. But I have a problem with how she just turned everything. Everyone was wrong. Everyone was wrong. Sure, I lied, but everybody else is wrong. James is wrong. James is a liar. Friggin' Keith is wrong. Keith is a liar. I have had a problem with that because she said that she wants accountability. I'm coming forth. I'm telling you the truth now.
Now,
You
right.
know, I'm telling the truth now. And I also had a problem with everyone. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I had a problem with everyone who believed her.
Well,
Her lawyers,
yes.
the chick she was in jail with. I
Yeah.
mean, that one therapist, Dr. Famini or Dr. I don't remember her name, but I believed her fully. You know, the chick,
Oh, yes, yes. I know what you're
I
talking
believed
about.
her.
Yeah.
But as far as her male therapist,
She was objective. And I don't believe he was.
No,
I don't
he
believe his view was completely skewed. And now he went back to go back further into this. He went back into she had some childhood trauma that she dealt with somebody messing with her. We'll just say it like that. When she was a child, and how that manifests into I forget what the disorder is. There's a disorder that makes you want a second life. Well, I mean, yeah, really lie. But you know, now and I hate being like this, but all that psychological mumbo jumbo that they do or whatnot, sometimes it's just a cover up for you, just a straight up liar. So
I mean, but there's a reason behind it. I totally get the reason.
I get
behind it.
that, but my thing was, he said it was more for there was a need that wasn't met, and then after that she would make up something to get that need or something like that. It was a whole bunch in between there, and there was a youth pastor, I think a youth minister or whatnot, who said she had always been good at like telling stories or making up
creating
stuff.
realities for everyone.
Yeah. And so I think, like, you know, his view based on the trauma was skewed, and I get that, because trauma does have an effect on you even as you grow up. But at the same time, there is an age where we all start to have some kind of accountability for what we do. You know,
Of course. Of course, you can only blame your parents for so long.
I 100%. One thing I want to talk to you about is, man, how do you think Keith felt, her husband?
Well, okay. Before you continue, I have mixed feelings about Keith.
Okay.
I think Keith was a manipulator. I thought he was controlling. I thought he maybe even.
Now, why would you think that? Why would you think that?
I hate to throw out the term narcissistic.
What breadcrumbs, what clues did you have about him being any of those things? Was it because of what she said?
No.
Because I didn't. Let me say this. Let me say
By
this.
all means, go ahead.
Because during this documentary, she never once brought up him talking to another woman. She never once brought up that he was abusive to her physically. The one thing that she said is, after I got caught talking to another guy, early in our marriage, he made me sign this prenup. I don't believe there was any kind of weapon pressed against her head at that point, but he made me sign this prenup, or postnup, excuse me, where she would give up everything if she was caught cheating again. Those kind of words to me is like typical manipulator status. Like,
On his part.
no, not on his part, on her part. Like, you're the one who talked to another person. You're the one who strayed outside the marriage. Okay? Not him. Mm-hmm. And so for her to be like, well, after that, it's like he didn't trust me or whatever. What do you think he was going to do? Like, that's what I don't understand. You got caught talking to somebody else while you was married. How do you think the guy's supposed to react? He's supposed to be like, oh, okay, everything's fine. Let's just go on about our happy lives. And I feel sorry for that man. I'll tell you why, because he should have left as soon as he found out she was talking to somebody else, because it never gets better. It always gets worse. It always gets worse.
You thought he was a good guy?
Look, she didn't bring up any other woman. She didn't bring up anything else except some money. And if you don't remember, she lost her job. So he had to control the money because he was making the money.
So he was a good guy?
In my eyes, as good as you can be during the circumstances.
Okay, well, like I was saying before, I was
so rudely interrupted.
Before I was told to shut up. I feel that I have a problem with Keith for the simple fact that, okay, we did not watch the first documentary. The first documentary was his side. And,
okay.
You know, I feel it's only fair for us to watch his side.
Well, we should, if it's not taken down.
Now, my thing is, I feel like Keith was a manipulator for the simple fact that they showed excerpts from his documentary. And he said she would put alcohol on cotton balls and put it in a plastic bag and put it over their child's head so they would feel bad, so she would take them to the doctor. That's what he said. Now, I have a problem with Keith because if that were true, you're a terrible dad. That makes absolutely no sense for you to know that your wife is putting cotton balls full of alcohol in a plastic bag over your kid's head, and now you just want to say it on television? That's manipulation. He was not a good dude. And if that was the case, he's not a good dad.
Well, here's the issue that we don't know behind this. One, did he come up and see this? We'll have to watch this documentary if it's still out. Did he actually see this, or did the kids come back and say this? Because remember, he was at work for a majority of this time, from what I'm understanding.
Well, apparently he knew. Apparently, if that were the case, which I don't believe him at all. I believe this is one reason why
I believe him
Sherri,
more than I believe her.
No,
I put it that way.
Listen, I think Sherri's an absolute liar. I think she's
okay.
Everybody who's dealt with a liar. I remember when I was a kid, I had I don't know if he's gonna see this. I had a stepbrother.
He gonna see it.
You know what? This dude will lie about the weather. I mean, just lie, lie, lie. And one thing I found out is that he just lied for absolutely no reason. There's no reason for him to lie this much. It was crazy to me. But I know she's a liar. But my thing is that I just feel as though she was telling the truth about the essential oils because CPS did their report and they found no findings.
Right.
They did their research.
I get that from a certain standpoint, and he may have embellished that story 100%. I'm not going to say that because once you get into divorce proceedings, there's a lot of mud that is slung between both parties most of the time because one's usually going to try to outdo the other. That's just how divorce is nowadays. It's sad. It's a sad state, but that is exactly how it is. Now, just because if he did do that, you got to realize this woman's already got the whole world in her corner, so to speak, because she's telling him, oh, he was manipulating me and he was doing this, that, and other.
She didn't have the whole world in her corner. Nobody believed her. It was 5 individuals who believed her.
Listen, this man's own sister took her in.
Yeah, I agree.
That man's own sister took her in. And she told you in the documentary that her and Keith really didn't have that good of a relationship. So it's like, And then she's trying to back up what she's saying. Like, I've seen some things or whatever. You're being very vague. You know, I've seen some things I didn't agree with. And then she's sitting here calling Sherri the sibling that she never had or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think she said the sister that she never had.
Sibling,
which makes
sister,
more
whatever. The problem with that is that's that man's own sister. That's how these types of people operate. They get the people who are close to you in some proximity and they turn them against you. Now, the doctor said, or the psychologist says, she doesn't have narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a psychologist, but that's what I saw. I mean, I saw narcissism on full display. But I just want to be like, do you realize what that man has gone through, Marlon? Do you realize what that man, he gets married to a woman. Let me finish. Let me paint this picture for you. He gets married to a woman. And I know you want to put on your cape, you know, that's whatever, but listen to me. The man marries a woman early into the.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on. Let me just say this. Let me just say this little thing. I don't think that what she did was right. You make it seem like Keith deserved an award for doing what he's supposed to do.
And I'm going to tell you why.
He does not deserve a reward for just being the man of the house.
Let me paint the picture. And this is all facts. He marries a woman. Early into their marriage, she steps out basically because improper communication is cheating, is it not?
Improper communication. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about emotional.
Whatever you want to call it. Talking to another person who was not your
She was absolutely in the wrong. She was absolutely in the wrong.
That's cheating, right? Can we agree on that?
I agree. He should have walked out. He should have
walked out then.
Yeah.
Okay. He still stays with her.
Love makes you do stupid things sometimes.
I agree. But he still stays with her. She goes out and does this again, which we don't know how many people she's done this with.
I'm sure it sounded like multiple.
It sounded like a lot.
Yeah.
So she's done this multiple times. He's, first of all, dealing with that. Then he has kids with her. She has the job. She loses that job because I think she got laid off or whatnot.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
A little tidbit from that is also she reconnected with James while she was working. Okay. So he's now the primary breadwinner. Okay. He's got that on his plate. Now, how many years later or whatnot, she just goes missing. You know, he's got to deal with that.
It was a year. I think it was a year.
Was it a year?
From the time she started talking to James to the time he picked her up.
So, but he doesn't know this at the time. He doesn't know that she's, from what we understand, she's talking to other men at this point. So she goes missing. He's looking for her. He's wondering where she is because he has absolutely no clue where she is at. Okay. Then she comes back 22 days later on Thanksgiving Day. Everybody's relieved, right? Mm-hmm. Then, as she's getting ready, I guess, to get into this plea agreement for the counts of, what is it, fraud and
I think mail fraud or something like that. Yeah.
Her lawyer ends up telling him that how her and James got in touch with each other is because they had burner phones.
I still had a problem with that because she was still lying. She was still lying.
Right. And the premeditation behind that, it's all about the premeditation, Marlon. It is all about the premeditation. When you start to think about people and their actions, not just in a vacuum, you got to think about, you had to think about this. You had to go through the actions of going and getting that phone. You had to go through all the actions of meeting this person and telling them, or not meeting this person, but telling them your number. All these things led up to this, right? And he doesn't know that she has got these burner phones until the lawyer says it to him. Mm-hmm. So he's pissed after that. And understandably so. I want you to fast forward to the part wherever she makes a recording of him coming up to the thing. Okay.
I didn't have what I heard was, it didn't sound bad. He was pissed.
Right. Let me finish this out. A lot of men during that situation would have crashed completely out. That man didn't even raise his voice during that recording. He didn't even raise his voice. He said, look, I want you to sign this. If you don't want to sign it, don't sign it. And when they're talking about,
he did say that.
Like I said, Marlon, you can say whatever you want about this man, but the man's a saint to me. Because most men would have completely crashed out during the circumstances that he went through with that woman.
I don't think he was a saint.
He's closer to a saint than any one of us in this room.
To me, I think you're the only one in that room. I think to me, it just feels like he might be emotionally manipulative.
How?
Controlling.
How?
Well, put it like this. I feel like
you ain't gave me no breadcrumbs of how he's doing this.
Hold your still. I just feel like she caused all of this, meaning that he's controlling because he's afraid that she's going to go out and cheat on him. He tries to keep everything, you know what I'm saying, under his thumb for the simple fact that he's afraid that she's going to go cheat on him. Just because he doesn't raise his voice does not mean he's a good guy. I just feel like he was emotionally manipulative. I just feel like he looked like he was cold. I don't think he was a good.
Where's the facts?
I don't think he was a good dad.
Where's the facts?
That's just the way I feel. I just feel like
because okay, I'll put it to you this way. I get what you're saying in some areas, but we don't have any facts to back that up. We got her story on this. We don't have. First of all, like I said,
we need to watch his. Like I said, we need to watch his side.
But did he direct the documentary, or was it directed by somebody else? So they would call the final shots on that, and not him. He might have had his inputs or whatnot.
Yeah, of course.
But like I said, is this during? And also, is this? We got to take everything in context. Is this during a custody battle, or is it not? This woman's already at the forefront of this. She's already manipulated even his own sister to the point that she's rocking with her going up into the custody battles, holding her hand. Like, the level of betrayal that this man has felt is unfathomable. I can't believe I said that word correctly the first time. But what I'm saying is, I don't disagree with you.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying,
and you're not gonna give that man his flowers.
I don't give
for
him
the way
flowers,
he
first of all.
handled it.
Second of all, I just feel like to me, he sounds like he could be emotionally, manipulative. That's the
how
vibe
would
that I
you
get.
feel? Let's put you in the shoes, Marlon. Let's put you personally in the shoes. You marry a woman.
If I see her texting other dudes, I'm out like a scout on the
Okay,
new
let's
route.
say you didn't. Let's just say you didn't. and you
Why
had
wouldn't
kids
I?
with this woman.
Why
I agree.
wouldn't I?
Hey, we all can say what we would do in a situation till we get into it.
Agreed.
It's a lot. So I'm just saying, let's just say you didn't. And then there's this whole national media news about this woman being missing that you're looking for and everybody else is looking for. First of all, you're dealing with all the stuff. And yes, remember, you're the primary breadwinner. We don't know how many times that she's done this affair business before. You're trying to hold you're trying to hold together a family, Martin.
No
You're
doubt.
trying to hold together a family.
No doubt.
And you can't, and because this one person doesn't want that. They don't want that.
Then it's time for her to leave.
Agreed. But while she's leaving, she's telling everybody that you are the problem. You're the problem. My problem is the accountability factor on her is the exact problem. Like,
but no,
you
this was years ago. These are two different time zones.
But you can sit up here and say, oh, he's being manipulative now because of what I did or whatnot, and want to blame him. Like I said, what do you expect somebody to do whenever you straight up have an affair with somebody the first couple of years you're married?
Well,
her justification was, well, they were just emotional affairs. An affair is an affair, emotional or sexual. It's an affair.
Absolutely.
You were wrong. And that's cool. Everybody makes mistakes or whatnot. But you're starting to say, well, he wouldn't talk to me at night. Would I want to talk to you?
Well, let's also oh yeah, see, I had a problem with that too. Because when she said that, now she has no credibility whatsoever. None. But when she said that, I believed her. Did you not believe her?
Who would want to talk to somebody you can't believe anything that comes out of their mouth?
But did you believe her?
No.
So you don't think that he wouldn't talk to her at night? Because you just got through saying who would want to talk to her.
But I'm not going to say it. She makes it seem like he didn't talk to her at all. That's what she makes it seem like.
Do you believe it or do you not believe it? Do you not believe
there are some points. I believe there are some points that she said something and he looked over and he is like disgusted. And yes, I agree with that.
Okay,
but to me, the man got a reason. He got a reason.
Then he should have just gotten a divorce. If he tells his woman that she can't talk at night, he should just get a divorce.
But that's not always possible.
Just
and you got to realize they got two kids. They got two kids to think about. So am I going to get a divorce because somebody don't talk to me a couple times at night?
No, he should have gotten divorced for the simple fact that she was talking to other dudes.
I know,
he also should have gotten a divorce for the simple fact that friggin', I don't know, everything she did. I mean, it seems like she was lying the whole time in their relationship because liars lie. It's not like, they turn it off and turn it on. She was a liar. So he should have gotten divorced a long time ago. But that simple fact alone does not mean that you have to treat a woman wrong. I'm not saying he treated her wrong, but I'm saying that you shouldn't tell your woman you can't talk at night. Who does that? No,
she got a mouth, right? She got a mouth, right?
I think I saw one. Yes.
Okay. So who's stopping her from talking?
It's the meanness, man. It's the meanness.
Oh my God, the meanness.
He was. Look, I can't believe I'm taking up for Sherri Papini. Okay,
you are, and that's what's tripping me out.
I'm not I am not taking up for Sherri Papini at all.
Bass
I
of the
said
voice
she's a
too.
liar. What I'm saying is that he should treat his woman better. That's all I'm saying.
She wasn't worth treating better.
Then he should have gotten a divorce.
But
he should have left.
It is harder when you got kids.
No, for the simple fact. No, what I'm saying is that if he got all of these daggum lawyers to have a post-nup, a prenup, or whatever nup, he has time to divorce this woman. It seemed like he was a man of means. Just looking at their house, it seemed like he had money. And most people who don't have money don't don't get a prenup or a post-nup. There's no nup.
So
it's just us.
With that, what you just said, it looked like he had money, right?
Yeah, it looks like he had money. It looks like
so in a divorce, what did he have stand to lose?
50% of freedom.
And what else?
Also, it was a post-nup, meaning that she would get absolutely nothing. So he could have divorced her at any time.
Not sure about that because post-nups are a little bit not as binding.
Then he could have tried. He could have tried. Nobody made him stay.
think about this. You just said he was a man of means, right?
It seemed like he was a man of means. Yeah.
She didn't have a job, right?
Okay.
Okay, she didn't have a job. So if he gets divorced, what is he going to have to pay?
I have no idea.
Alimony, child support. More than likely, he'll lose that house.
But don't you think this is worth it? Don't you think
In this situation, yes,
listen,
it would have been worth it.
That's
in this
what I'm
situation.
saying. I mean, for a woman
But
to lie
what
to
I'm
you
saying-
all the time and you can't trust her to tell you what
But
time
what I'm
it was?
saying is, Marlon, you also have to think about this from his perspective. He's got 2 kids. He's got a house. He's got what seems to be a nice life or whatnot. And then he's going to give that all up because, or whatever. And I believe me, nobody would sit up here and blame him for doing that. But you're going to have to start all over from scratch with probably 50% of what you're able
Let's
to
do
make.
it. They sell air mattresses at Walmart every day. If
That's a lot.
If he's not believing her, if she's lying to him all the time, I'm sorry. Let's go for broke. Let's do this. I can't have you laying in my bed next to me, knowing you're lying to me, also putting cotton balls full of alcohol in plastic bag over our kids' heads and say, can we work this out? No, it's time to go. It's time to go. All the excuses in the world.
Easier said than done.
I'm sorry. He should have left. He should have left.
He should have left before they had kids.
On the
I'm
lies
in agreement
alone.
with that. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, he had a lot more to lose than she did.
But he had a lot more to gain. He had
really,
I don't know.
You think about it, and let's even think about this. During the time that she was, after she came back or she got arrested for, I guess, the fraud or whatnot. Mm-hmm. At the time, she still shared custody with those kids.
Well, that on one of those scenes, I really had a problem with, for the simple fact that she recorded herself video calling her kids, and it was a set. It was a set.
Crying the whole night.
I mean, I was like, come on, chick. This is for shows. This is for clicks and likes. I didn't like that.
Now I know there are some in this newer, generation that we have. They do that on TikTok and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to hate on them, but it's just something that most people don't show their most vulnerable selves on social media. We all know that.
And some do but you have to question why.
Some do for
doing
clout,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Some do for clout. And in her case, boy, I would believe it'd be mostly clout. Just to be honest,
I agree.
But that's what I'm saying, Marlon. If this was a man on the other side of this, do you think he would have shared custody during that time?
I don't know.
I believe not. I believe you can sit up here, you can get 3 speeding tickets. They'll be like, well, that's reckless endangerment. For a man, that's a lot harder in that court system than it is for a woman. I hate to say that. It just is. You ask any man that's gone.
It seems like it is.
You ask any man that's gone through a divorce.
But he had so much believability because she had none.
She had absolutely none.
He had all the cards. And her parents really bothered me. I mean, I feel like she was a liar because her mother was a liar. That's the vibe that I got. She learned that from my Dukes.
Hey, can I tell you this, Marley? Did you see this part where her mother was talking about she never did like James, I guess, from whenever they were together. And her husband looked at her like that was the first he's ever heard of that. Did you peep that out?
Well, I peeped out the fact that she was the audible one in the relationship. She was the one who was always talking. He was always on the back burner, the cheerleader of the two.
Yeah.
But I had some serious problems because if you watch them, they didn't even believe her. Because
but
she
how
said,
can you?
I remember they asked, do you know everything that she went through, or something along those lines? And he was basically saying you'd have to ask Sherri. So I don't think that to the end they didn't believe him.
Yeah.
And I wonder, was that her father?
No, I don't think it was. I remember that was her mother's second or third marriage.
I understand that, but I'm saying actually that's her third marriage. But I'm saying
Yeah.
I wonder, is that her father still? I
Well,
wonder, is that her biological father?
I'm gonna say not, and the only reason I'm gonna say this is because they had the same last name. Like the husband and the wife, their parents.
Yeah, yeah.
They had the same last name. So if she got married a couple times after this person or whatever, maybe not. But we would have to know for sure the background history. I see what you're saying. In fact, it could have been if her name, was, I think it was Graf or something like that. It could have been, but maybe it was. Marlon, tell you the truth. Now I'm thinking about it, maybe it was.
he did know her from a young age.
Yeah. Which means he could have been coming in and playing stepdaddy too. So
yeah, very true. My Dukes is probably like that. For some strange reason, that's just the vibe that I got. Is that her mother?
Well, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But man, my thing is with this, like I said before, I know we differ on how we feel about Keith or whatnot. But for me, Keith is saint, dog. Closest thing we're gonna get on this earth to it.
That speaks volumes.
I'm just saying.
Speaks volumes.
That man did not complete the crash out.
That
man did not complete the crash out.
Just because you don't crash out, you have no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
A lot of people would have crashed out.
Yeah.
78% would have crashed out after
Absolutely.
the first time. After the first time. But the thing I think is funny also is I'm trying to find it here in my notes. If you got something you want to talk about, you can go ahead and bring it up. I got one other thing.
I was trying to find the Bible verse, but they didn't say the exact number, and her shoulder was all burnt. So really, all I could read was the Exodus part.
I thought it said Exodus like 6:12, but I could be wrong. It looked like it on her back, but it may not have been. Yeah,
but he said it had something to do with straw and getting frogs out of the house.
Well, that's what the FBI person said. I don't think. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think she.
No. The FBI person didn't say that.
Yeah, she did.
I think Sherri said that.
No, the FBI person who was talking about the Exodus said we looked at the Exodus, and it was, of course, as we know, Exodus is talking about the exit from Egypt, the Israelites, and all the plagues and stuff that was brought upon the Egyptians. If you look back at it, she was saying we looked through Exodus and couldn't find any real meaning, and I knew at that point, I said, I don't think she understands biblical references. To me, the Exodus part is just like we just said.
Her escape.
Her escape. Exactly.
Yeah. So then it seems like it was her idea.
I'm just saying two things can be true at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to find this one other thing. So Marlon, if you got anything else.
Do you remember what it was about?
Oh yeah. This is what I had a problem with. Sherri was sitting here talking about the only thing, and everybody co-signed for it, the only thing she could think about was getting back to her kids. Do you remember when they said that?
Yeah.
Okay. Where was this? Wait, she didn't. So she stayed. Okay. Apparently, she was a stay-at-home mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The kids were in school.
In daycare.
Yeah.
Okay. Iffy to me. If you're a stay-at-home mom, why the kids in daycare? I get there's some kind of, social stuff that needs to go on or whatnot.
Kids need social interaction.
But that's what you there for. You are there to be talking to them.
Kids need to be around kids.
And they will be when they go to kindergarten. Because I believe, and I'm just going to say this is a conspiracy theory, I believe that the program starts very young. Very, very young. Anyway.
Yeah, but kids still, mothers still need a breather every now and then. They just can't be with the kids all the time, especially when they have chores. Let them go play, you know what I'm saying, with other kids their age.
What chores was she doing?
She needed a break. Women sometimes need a break.
From what?
Oh my goodness gracious. Sometimes women, mothers, stay-at-home moms need a break.
Sometimes
they need a break.
From the kids?
Whatever.
No. Let's
Whatever.
you open this can of worms. They need a
Whatever.
break from the kids. Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes they need some mommy time. They need some alone time. I think that's healthy for all
I
of
agree
us.
with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But it's hard for me sometimes in this new generation where we all need these breaks from everything. And I'll put it to you this way. In this day and age, we have refrigerators that stores our food. We have dishwashers that washes our dishes. We have washing machines and drying machines that wash and dry our clothes. You can buy a robot that mops and vacuums your floor. You can call DoorDash or Uber Eats and have your groceries delivered to your door. All I'm saying is all this talk about breaks and stuff, past generations had much more kids to deal with. And they didn't get breaks.
And sometimes
they didn't get breaks.
No, sometimes the aunties watched them. Sometimes grandma watched them. That's called a break, brother. That's a break. So
Sometimes.
Even 50 years ago, mom still got breaks.
Right. But we in this generation kind of act like we need a break more than just a couple of times a month or whatever. It's like we need a break from them.
I'm sorry, we just had Mental Health Month, and now you're talking against it.
No, I'm not talking against that, but I'm saying I think as there is a difference between people saying they need a break and they want to get away from somebody. There's a difference.
But it's like I said, it's also good for kids to interact with kids their own age. That's how they learn social skills.
And I get that. But like I said, I just believe the programming starts young, and I think that's part of it. It's that school to prison pipeline that they've talked about for years. Okay. So anyway, where was this thinking about the kids whenever you was buying these burner phones? You was already at home with the kids. She needed a break, right? She needed a break.
She needed a break to go get the burner phone. Yeah, absolutely.
Needed a break. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. All this now she's wanting to be like, I just want to be around my kids. You were around your kids. You were a stay-at-home mother, and I just want to get back to them. Everything you did was the opposite of wanting to be around your kids. You jeopardized not only your marriage, you jeopardized your life as you claim, from being abducted. So to me, that doesn't sound like the kids are the number one agenda on your list. To me, it sounds like
if you put an alcohol on cotton
are the
balls
number
around
one agenda on your list.
They're not the number one agenda. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like she had Munchausen syndrome, personally.
And maybe she did. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. And like I said, this psychological mumbo jumbo, everybody can have some kind of complex from something. If you think about it, if you go to a psychologist long enough, they'll say you got this, that, and the other. I believe it. But like I said before, everything you did in this scenario didn't say
it's by her fault
that you wanted to be with those kids. Because everything
she did is her fault. Yeah,
right.
I agree, 100%. I agree.
Well, that's all I got.
We're coming up on almost 50 minutes. We got anything else you want to?
No, I think we're good. But I just want everybody to kind of look at that documentary and just look.
Did we say it was on HBO Max?
Yes, we did.
Right.
I know that was a long time ago, probably 48 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a must watch. If nothing else, and I know Marlon's going to be like, here you go again. If nothing else, it shows you what people are capable of. Because I do believe this is not just a 1 in a million type of thinking. I think this hits a little bit closer to home. I think there's about 1 in 10 people who actually think like this, but they don't behave in this way exactly. I believe those kind of thoughts about how I am this, that, and other, I believe that's more prevalent today.
Yeah, people usually put themselves over everyone else.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's not much empathy.
No.
All right. Well, we thank you for joining us today. I don't know if we're going to continue this. I had fun.
I had a great time.
That was enjoyable to me.
The mic levels got high, so we like that.
Well, the mic levels usually get high. But yeah, this is Trash Talk and Tall Tales. Make sure you check us out on Spotify. My name is Marlon.
And I'm James.
Thank you for joining us.